Hey, today I wanted to tell you about some of the inspiration behind and the symbols and stories that are in my painting, Prayer Hands Abe. The mix of high-end designers and casual streetwear meant to represent someone who is of very humble beginnings, but ultimately rose to the highest calling in the land. It's just like what Drake said, started from the bottom, now we're here. In this painting, Abe is wearing equal parts dark and light, black and white to represent his love for justice and equality. Abe was a self-taught lawyer. He worked to see that equality and justice reflected in our country's government. Abe loved his mother, and I think we all love our mothers, but when your father's an ass who rents you out to neighboring farms like Abe's was, I think you love them even more. Nancy Lincoln was the only soft spot, the only light in his life. Unfortunately, at 9 years old, when Nancy Lincoln was 34, she passed away due to food poisoning. Coco Chanel is credited with the rise in costume jewelry. Pearls were only owned by queens and the ultra-rich. Also, her jewelry line made faux pearls accessible to the everyday woman. So now when we see pearls, we don't just think of queens and the ultra-rich, but we think of our mothers. Abraham Lincoln was suffering from what was called chronic melancholy in the 1800s, but is now known to be clinical depression. He was prescribed something called blue mass. Blue mass was used for an array of things: constipation, toothache, childbirth, and parasitic infestation, which, if you've ever been pregnant, those two things are kind of the same thing. But anyways, of course, the last thing that it also cured was depression. So he was prescribed blue mass, and now we know that it is actually elemental mercury, which will kill you. He was also prescribed cocaine to lift his mood. I guess I should clear up that he didn't use either for very long. I actually don't know if he ever used the cocaine. He didn't like a change in his constitution. So as much as he didn't like to be sad all the time, he also didn't like the way drugs made him feel. Wearing crystals and stones, like the bracelets in this painting, is kind of popular at the moment, but it's a practice that's existed for centuries. Modern day mental health advice is becoming this mix of ancient practices like meditation and self-care and SSRI drugs and talk therapy and other science-backed therapies. I am personally so glad that I missed the times when they were treating depression with exorcism, electroshock therapy, and lobotomies. My favorite detail, which is the key in his pocket. Pocket is representing the fact that the key to your own success lies with you only. He was born to a family that literally could not afford education, and they couldn't afford to let Abe, even at 7 years old, to go to school because they needed him to work to help earn money to help the family survive. He did 11 months pop-up school that was located over a mile away, and he walked there barefoot. So this guy did not let things get in his way. He wanted an education so bad, and he didn't have paper and pencil to write with. So he found a piece of wood and he would whittle into it with a knife, and then he would scrape that back down so that he would have a blank canvas again. And after he had read every book borrowed from neighbors, within 50 miles, he finally decided to leave home at 21 and tracked down people who practiced law, and he borrowed their books and he read everything that he could get his hands on. He took the bar exam verbally from a judge who quizzed him and found him qualified to be a lawyer. Always bear in mind that your own resolution to succeed is far more important than any other one thing. Very truly your friend, A. Lincoln. The 3 diamonds that are on his pinky ring represent his 3 children that passed away. Abe and his wife, Mary, had 4 sons, and 3 of them died prematurely. One of them actually died in the White House during his presidency. The G on his belt represents G-Man, a man who dedicated his life to the government and serving the people. There's a synopsis of the inspiration and symbols and stories behind my piece, Prayer Hands Abe. Some say that the difficult childhood and continuous personal loss that Abe sustained in his life prepared him to guide our country through the devastation that that was experienced through the Civil War. And if that's the case, I'm grateful for his sacrifice and for his dedication to our country and to the justice that he sought, and we are a better country for it.